Pop music. Has it really got worse? Or is it just the same as it's always been? Stay tuned to find out. What has happened to the state of music? I recently made an upload talking about music, pop music in general, and how I felt that pop music today isn't as good as what pop music was back there in the 80s. Why is this? Am I right in thinking that pop music today isn't as good as what it was in maybe the 70s or 80s? Is it maybe just an age thing that as we get older and as we mature, we find music not as good as what it was when we grew up? I knew I grew up in the 80s. I was 10 years old, 11 years old in 1980, and that is when I became interested in music. I absolutely love music from the late 70s, probably around 1979, through to the early 80s. I love bands such as The Clash, Blondie, The Police. 1979 was also when Two Tone started. For me, that was an absolutely fantastic era for being into pop music. A great time to be a youth, because as youth, we do love our pop music. But where did it all go wrong? Or has it all gone wrong? As I say, is it just an age thing? I've written down a few points where I think personally music started to go downhill, and the reason why it, to me, has gone downhill. Because when I was a lad, when I was a teenager, we had so much to look forward to regarding pop music. On a Sunday night, we would have the top 40 where we'd all sit eagerly in front of the radio listening as, I think it was Tony Blackburn, would run down the top 40 for us, gradually getting closer to number one, and we'd be excited sitting there with our tape recorders ready to press record, recording those top 40 singles, eagerly waiting to see who was going to be this week's number one. It was something exciting to look forward to on a Sunday afternoon. We also had Top of the Pops. It was only on once a week. It was a Thursday at 7:20. And all teenagers, all young people at that time would be watching and waiting for Thursday at 7:20 where they could sit down and watch their favourite artists and then go to school the next day and talk about it. But all that are things of the past. We no longer have Top of the Pops. I can't imagine there's many kids now sitting in front of their radio with tapes, analog tapes, recording music. It just doesn't exist anymore, does it? And for me, that is just a couple of reasons why there isn't the interest in music as what there was when I was a teenager. When did it all go wrong? When did the wheels fall off for pop music? Well, for me, I think one of the big pivotal points was when CD came out. Now, I used to love, and lads of my age used to collect records. It used to be fantastic to go out on a Saturday morning and pop into your local record store where it would be full of other young people flicking through vinyl records, choosing what record they wanted to buy that week. The shops would be absolutely jam-packed. You'd have to push your way past people to have a look at the records. There was that many people in shops. You get home, you'd open it up, you'd open up the cover, you'd look at the pictures, you'd read the lyrics. It was great holding that physical format of a vinyl record. But all that changed when CD arrived. Suddenly, we had this little disc. It seemed fantastic at first. No longer did we have that big black record that would easily scratch, get fingerprints on it, have clicks and crackles. All that would be gone with this perfect disc forever. This little compact disc. But so many people, even though the clicks and pops had gone, that the music had gone, that the CD didn't sound as good as vinyl. And to me, that was, as I say, a big pivotal point in the music industry. I think collectors of vinyl weren't so interested in collecting CD. They didn't have as much value as what having a piece of vinyl did. As I say, I prefer, even though I do love music from the 80s, I do prefer the first half of the 80s, where we used to have many bands using the Yamaha DX7 synth and the Linn drum machine. I'm sure we'll recognise the sound of those two products straight away. By the end of the 80s, I think music became sort of a little bit more cheesier. By the 90s, I was living in Spain and my interest in music waned. Even though there was good music in the 90s, don't get me wrong, there was good music in the 90s. It didn't hold my interest as much as what it did in the 80s. And by the time we moved to the noughties, I just didn't have hardly any interest in new music at all. And now we've moved on yet another 20 years. There's just I wouldn't say no good music, but there's very, very few good I'm talking about chart pop music. There doesn't seem to be much good chart music. As I said, we no longer have Top of the Pops. That was replaced by 24-hour music channels such as MTV. And to me, it was too much. As kids, we had something to look forward to on that Thursday night. I can't even remember how long Top of the Pops was. I think it was just for 40 minutes maybe. But it was 40 minutes that we had to look forward to. We had the whole week eagerly waiting for the next programme of Top of the Pops. Today, you can just turn on your TV and it's there for you. So many different music channels, 24 hours a day. It's not the same. When I was a teenager, to be number one was a big thing. Everybody wanted to be number one. Nowadays, number one? Who cares? It just doesn't have the importance and weight as what it did back there in the 70s and 80s. So I've just outlined a few of my personal reasons why I think pop music has gone downhill. There just doesn't seem to be the interest from young people in chart and pop music as what there was when I was a teenager. Young kids today seem to be more interested in gaming or being on Instagram or whatever sort of modern social media platform there is to use. They don't seem to be as interested in collecting music anymore. Music has become disposable. You listen for a tune for a couple of days or weeks or whatever, and then you just delete it and replace it with something else. Comparing that to when we were kids, where we would collect things, and I'm sure most people that are in their 50s plus have probably still got their record collection. I know I have. And it's something that's precious to me, those memories of those vinyl records that I've collected. We used to say, come round and listen to my vinyl collection to your friends, didn't you? But how many people would say today, hey, come round and have a listen to my MP3 collection? It just doesn't happen, does it? Nobody's interested in people's MP3 collections. But people are interested in vinyl collection, and I'm so pleased that I've kept my personal vinyl collection. I don't have a massive vinyl collection like some people are blessed of having, but I have a lot of 80s music, and it means a lot to me. As I say, I grew up in that decade, and I like looking back at those records that I have collected. So, please, in the comments down below, let me know what you think your reason is that music, pop music in particular, isn't as popular or doesn't have as much weight as what it does now to what it did back then. Maybe I'm wrong. Please, let me know in your comments down below. I look forward to seeing what comments you have to make. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day, take care, and don't forget, keep listening to that music. Bye-bye now.